Hello and welcome to On a Mission, the show where we share inspiring conversations with phenomenal women who are creating success and prosperity in their lives with purpose and passion. I'm Pauline Rohdich, a success mindset coach and clinical hypnotherapist, and I'm on a personal mission to remind you that you are a beautiful soul and you have so much potential. And my intention for this show is to give you the nudge to answer your own calling and to rise up and take on your life's mission. So welcome everybody. This is episode 2 of On a Mission, the show where we are showcasing and highlighting conversations from phenomenal women from all over the world who are sharing their message with the world, who've overcome some form of adversity or tapped into their gifts and talents quite naturally and organically from birth, or who have arrived at discovering their gifts and talents much later, often caused by a life experience. Today, I am joined by a wonderful lady. She's a friend and a former colleague. Her name is Majella Peelo. Majella, you're so welcome. I am so thrilled to be having this conversation with you today. And may I say, you look absolutely amazing. Look, it's just so great. And for the purpose of our listeners, today I want to highlight this wonderful lady that shared a similar career to my own back in the 80s and 90s in Ireland. And at the time of recording, today is the 7th of March, 2021. And I think it's a pivotal day. It's divine timing as far as I'm concerned, that we're celebrating International Women's Week this week, and tomorrow being International Women's Day. And the hashtag associated and the theme of this year's International Women's Day is about choosing to challenge the status quo, to really forge ahead with inclusion in the workplace, in society at large. And I feel very honored to share Majella's story with you. Some of you might be familiar with her story, which was very much highlighted last year with a documentary in RTE and subsequent interviews that Majella did. But just a little background as to how Majella and I started out together. It was in the 80s, and Majella was 1 year ahead of me in Templemore, and she became a guard, something that she'd wanted to do for a very long time. Similarly, myself, I joined the force in October of 1984. My career was shorter than Majella's. I have my own stories too as to why I left the Guards, and someday I will share that. But today is about Majella. So just for those of you that are not really familiar with Majella's backstory, and of course the main purpose of this interview is to share who this woman has become as a result of what took place in her life, the phenomenal woman that she is, and the mission that she's on as a result. So An Garda Síochána is the Gaelic for the Irish Police Force, the Guardians of the Peace. And it is an establishment like any other police force, an organization of people. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. I still have a brother in the Guards. He's a detective in Dublin. And so I know that Majella feels like I do, that this is not a slur on a force or an organization. It's basically an individual's journey. And I'm going to hand it over to Majella. And Majella, look, how are you, my darling?
Morning, Pauline. I'm very well, and thank you, Pauline, for having me on this morning.
Well, listen, I just want people to hear your lovely voice and look, share the background. I mean, like you were no stranger to pain, unfortunately, going right back to early childhood. Would you like us to give, a comfortable account of your early days?
Okay, I was born in 62 and my mum got killed in 64. So then I was placed into a residential school, and I was there then for 16 and a half years. Turbulent years, sort of, I would say they were the beginning of my darkness. Really, there was a lot of pain inflicted on me in there. So then I was there for that duration of time, and I left it and came to Dublin to my father and my stepmother, who, to me, it was, I would say now, Pauline, it should never have happened. I didn't know that man. I didn't know that woman. But anyway, I came to Dublin. I lived there for a period of time, left it, went out onto a flat. always wanted to join on Garda Síochána, as you have described it, as the police force of Ireland. And the reason that I wanted to join the Guards was because I actually saw so much injustices preferred against myself and other children who were handed over to the state in Ireland. So I joined because I felt that I could give something of myself. And yet, as a child, I was very much a person that was always helping others. I always had that call to help the underprivileged person. Was very, as a child, I felt very different to many people. So I alienated myself from a lot of stuff, Pauline.
Can you expand on that, though? What do you mean by different? That raises curiosity now. So what do you mean?
Different in the sense that I saw things differently. I never liked anybody hurting anybody. I didn't like people to be crying. I wanted to help all the time. It was always, I wanted to wrap my arms around somebody and protect them. That was the sort of a child that I was, very lost child, and didn't know who I was, of course. Felt abandoned, felt I wasn't loved, felt that if I was good, they would have kept me. They wouldn't have put me into a home. So I brought all of that stuff into early adult, we'll say 18, 19, 20s, 21, very lost person in the world, extremely lost, constantly reaching outside of myself for people to make me happy. Could not fulfill anything.
Are you familiar with Dr. Wayne Dyer when he was alive? Are you familiar with his work?
No, I'm not, Pauline.
Dr. Wayne Dyer. Well, it was a phenomenal spiritual teacher, and similar story, actually. Abandoned, grew up in a type of school in foster care then as well. Went on to become an amazing, amazing teacher. Sadly, left this planet maybe 3 years ago, I believe. But no more than yourself, just had that whole kind of void and that feeling of being lost, but of course turned it into a phenomenal legacy, which I've no doubt that you're on your journey towards now. So sorry for the interruption, but I just wanted to put that point in there. So a lot of great, great people have had those kind of starts in this life.
Yeah, well, that is very true now, Pauline, sort of. On to the Garda Síochána anyway. So in 1984, I became pregnant. I was a single girl. I was going out with this guy for nearly 2 years. I became pregnant. Again, very terrifying for me, coming from the Catholic, strong Catholic ethos that I was brought up with, that, that you were this and you were easy and you were all of this. So it was very much internalized. I internalized all of that shame and guilt and discrediting the force, as I was told. So there was an awful lot of negativity in my road, on my journey, an awful lot of pain, an awful lot of desperation, an awful lot of self-hatred,
self-loathing and
self-loathing, put myself out there to be hurt, to be used, to be abused, because I didn't know any better.
I know.
My son was born, and in Ireland, the Catholic Church worked very, very, very much together with the Garda Síochána or any organisation, not just the Guards. So it was constantly for me through that process of being pregnant, which to me was supposed to have been a wonderful, joyful occasion. It was taken from me. My son was taken as soon as he was born, and he was put into foster care, and then he was adopted. But the sadness, Pauline, of all of this is that I then was charged with giving birth, and I then was charged with having sex outside marriage with another member of the force. And I was told that I had discredited the force. For many, many a year, Pauline, I believed all of that. I believed it. And through that period of time, I had started a lot of work on myself in rebirthing. I had been in India rebirthing. I had done a lot of counseling, a lot of healing work, a lot of speaking. And I started to realize, Pauline, that what they had done was so wrong.
Well, it absolutely was so wrong. And I mean, your story, the story of having a child outside of marriage back then was more common perhaps than any of us realized.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
It was happening. But I suppose what compounded your situation was working for such an organization or a body as the Guards.
Yes.
That really compounded it. I mean, it may not have happened elsewhere in a different kind of job. We'll never know that, of course, how you might have been treated elsewhere. We'll never actually know that. But could I ask you at this stage, Majella, growing up, did you have a connection to God, despite growing up in that situation where, of course, the Catholic Church, and I grew up in a very strict Catholic environment myself. In my home, my father is very religious. But, when you're in this kind of institution, this industrial school, I mean, it's fairly heavy-handed, no doubt, the whole religious connotations.
Mm-hmm.
You have your own relationship with God. Did you believe in God? Did you believe in anything outside of yourself at that stage?
Well, we were forced. Religion was forced on us, Pauline. We had to go to mass every morning and benediction and say the rosary every evening and all of that sort of stuff. I always believed there was something greater than me. I didn't know what it was. I didn't like God or Our Lady because they took my mother.
Yeah.
So I was fighting against this as well. But I always believed that there was a strong connection to something. I didn't know what it was. Through all of my pain, the light always shone. There was always a light because I always believed that it was going to get better. It didn't for many, many a year, but it was the thing that kept me going, that I knew eventually, through all of my darkness, through all of my pain, that someday I was going to be able to stand up.
And did you have somebody you could talk to about this? Was there somebody close that you could share those intimate thoughts and feelings?
No. I never had anybody like that. In saying that, we had a very strong connection with, say, 3 other girls in the industrial school, which to this day were still very, very close. But we didn't speak on that level, Pauline, because we had no understanding of that.
No.
Yet I can say the nun that was in charge for the duration of the 11 years that I was there was a wonderful, wonderful person. She than I ever had seen love coming from. Yet I didn't know that it was love. Do you know what I'm saying?
Of course, look at I totally understand. I
But
very
I
understand.
her kindness was something that touched me. And I've often said it today, that Sister Claire was the person that has given me or gave me or I awakened the gifts that I have today and the gifts that I can see today.
Well, I want to talk about those now in just a second, but you know what, I love what you're saying, because really in this world, what I've learned in my own journey and as a therapist and working with people closely, that it takes just one person in your life, and it may not be a parent, it may not be a relation, but just one person that can really show you that you have potential beyond what you could ever believe for yourself, that they're almost giving you their belief in you, they have faith in you, and that's enough. And clearly it has been enough, because obviously you've gone on, you're here with us, thank God. And I want to move to that moment where you had harbored a secret that you couldn't share with anybody. And I mean, that in and of itself must have been extremely difficult, that you'd no outlet. How did you really cope with it? What was the journey like? I mean, I know you went to India, did the rebirthing, and you discovered many holistic practices. So just share with us, how you evolved when you decided that you were going to open up about this and share, which I really applaud you for doing, because I think it's vitally important that we tell the truth. And I believe more than ever that we're in a space on this universe right now, on this planet, on the earth, that we need to call ourselves out on our own BS, but we certainly need to call others out, because it's just not acceptable any longer that people cannot be allowed to be who they are without all this judgment and criticism. And, you know, people in glass houses should not throw stones. And let's be honest, sometimes those that throw the stones the hardest have a lot to look at within themselves, you know. But tell me, how, when you decided to really out this?
Well, it took a long, long time, but I suppose because I had done so, I was doing so much work on myself and doing a lot of counseling and doing a lot of, we'll say, body work and all of this. And one day, this may sound very, very strange, but this is how it happened. I felt it was like something penetrated in here. It was like penetration of light.
Where were you? Describe the scene. Where were you?
Would you not believe, I was sitting beside a river.
Right, go on.
I love water. I'm terrified of water, but I love water. I love being around water. And I felt safe. I felt, now, Majella, you can take on the world. Now, Majella, you can reveal who you are, and you should have no shame, because all my life I had shame. All my life I felt shame. It was the most, it was just a fantastic moment. It was so awakening. It was like as if somebody had come in within me and actually planted a light, and that light just, and it opened up. It was like a petal. It was like as if I opened up like a rose, and I thought, this is it. I can do this. This is not.
I really have goosebumps, you know, and the way you're describing it, you know, I teach yoga, as you know, and so the crown center, the Sahasrara chakra, is often depicted as a lotus flower, a 1,000 petaled lotus flowers that blossoms and blooms when we connect with our wholeness, with our essence. So really, that's what you're describing. It was a major awakening. Is this the one from 2016?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was from then on, Pauline, I was very much strong that I put it out there to the universe. I just put things out there, and I'm so lucky that they come back. And I was very, very lucky to meet a person called Susan Logan, who's in the Adoption Alliance of Ireland, a wonderful, wonderful person. I met Susan. I revealed my story to her in relation to my son and all of that. And that was the beginning. And this was then where I sat with many, many a person, Dr. Mavor Brewer, Aoife Kelleher, Sarah Blake. There's so many people that I have to thank for helping me on my journey of truth. And I evolved. I told it. I no longer had shame. And up to that point, Pauline, I was a mother of one child. Then I became a mother of two children. So it was amazing. Like today I have two sons. No. Up to that point I had one son. Do you know what I'm saying?
I completely
tell people.
So wonderful to stay and tell your truth. You are a mother of two children.
Yes, absolutely. And
you will always be a mother of two children. Despite what happened.
So, Pauline, because I then owned my truth, and then I owned my story, and that the authorities within the Garda force no longer had power over me.
No. And they were not difficult. They were difficult decisions to actually make. Well, your first difficult decision we shared before we came on. Would you like to say what your most difficult decision has been? I mean, I know it probably is very obvious, but I just want you to say it.
My most difficult decision of my life was signing the adoption paper for my son.
Without any help or support or explanation. I know, I feel it too, Majella. And then the next difficult decision that you made to really connect with your essence, your purpose, was what?
When I just believed, Pauline. When I knew that I could no longer live this life, that I could no longer live in shame, in untruth, in bitterness, anger,
No, it,
self-loathing.
it doesn't help anybody. Sure, it
It,
doesn't.
it could no longer be a part of me because it was constantly for me that I was doing the same thing and expecting different results. That doesn't work. When I embraced who I was
Yes, yes, yeah.
and I started to love me, and Pauline, my goodness, it was a very difficult journey. I used to have to stand in front of a mirror and I hated what I saw. I hated it because I was told so many times that I was nothing. And I believed it. But today I'm something.
Yes,
And
you.
today there's so much life within me today that I just want to go on top of a mountain and scream and just say, come on, we can do it. You know?
You can. You absolutely can do it. And so, do you feel closer now to this higher intelligence, or this something that you feel is greater than you are?
Absolutely. It's part of my everyday. I meditate daily. I go to nature every day. I write a lot of poetry. I'm very connected with my creativity. I do a lot of crochet working. I do a lot of baking. I do a lot of poetry writing. I write. I just am very, very, very much in tune with who I am today. And if I don't like something, Pauline, I don't sit there anymore. I get up and I walk. I never do that. I never could do that.
I mean, that's real liberation, isn't it? It's just emancipation from the past, from, that horrendous container of, put somebody into a box. My goodness. I mean, I am really privileged to be speaking to you, Majella, because I think you're you are most definitely an amazing lady. You've been through so much, but I love the fact that you're here. All these amazing gifts. I mean, I follow you on social media. I see the evidence of your creativity, your crocheting. I've seen the various baking that you've done. Amazing. So, to be able to do that with ease and flow and grace and spontaneity and just the bliss of just being yourself and not carrying that horrible shame any longer, which is so over and expired and deleted. I'm
Mhm.
forever helping people, when they come to me with a story about how they're currently feeling. So people will come to hypnotherapy, for example, and they are feeling very incapable of, coping with certain things, and their confidence is affected. And inevitably, we have to go back to the past to find out where this started. And for some people, it started in early childhood, and what happens then is we just keep getting more of the same, and it's because of how we've internalized it, and so how we have made ourselves feel that we're only worthy of X, when in actual fact, when we break that patterning in the mind,
Mm.
let it go. And I mean, you had to go to great lengths to do that, more than the average person. So
Mhm.
I know that people listening to this can only salute you, Ara, and obviously hold you in their hearts, because as you're telling the story, and I know it's still raw and painful, it could never not be. I mean, because of the nature of what happened. But I know that we're feeling it. I certainly felt it. I felt your emotion. I feel your emotion. I cried when I heard your documentary as I was listening to you. And that was when I reached out to you again, just in a show of solidarity, just to say, Majella, I understand. And I'm so, so sorry. And I do to this day feel so sorry that I would see you in the Garda Club and we'd be socializing. And little did I know what was going on in your life. Little did I know, or anybody else. And I mean, that hurts me to think that another woman in a job where we were so much in the minority, that we weren't able to be there for one another. Or I know we were probably immature, and what did we really know? I often said myself, 20 years of age, going into the police force, thrown to the wolves, in there with crimes against children and rape cases. And obviously, we were thrown into where there was domestic abuse and violence because we were the woman to help the woman in the situation. Made sense, of course, and we to grow up really fast in the guard, what we were exposed to. But it does still sadden me that, you were going through this as a woman. And here we are 37 years later, almost, only having this conversation. And
Yeah.
you know, that saddens me, but at the same time, I'm just so proud of you. And I don't say that in any kind of plumossy way. I genuinely mean it, that you're here to tell the story. And I want to ask you, what is your favorite quote?
No other human being can make me happy.
And where did you find that quote? Tell me.
So symbolic for me, Pauline, because all my life I reach to other people for my happiness. And today I make me happy.
That's right.
And even it's a very emotional thing for me, that statement,
Yeah.
because I put myself in situations, Pauline, and lost myself and thought that these people would be good for me. And all it was hurt again.
I know. And listen, you know, it's a pattern, you know, that when you've now recognized, and it's so wonderful to see you blooming in a different way.
Yes, absolutely.
That lovely description that you had. I mean, that's you evolving, growing, emerging. I often say that I love the analogy of the caterpillar and the butterfly when it comes to transformation. There is a phase too of that being in the chrysalis before we emerge. And so you are emerging still. I mean, I know there's a lot of things that you're in the pipeline for you. You're gaining clarity day by day on where you want to go and how you want to serve in the world. But a question that I want to ask you now is, of all the people that you could sit down and have a beautiful, intimate dinner with, to maybe seek advice from, or somebody that you really admire in society, who would that be?
This may sound very strange, Pauline, but I'm going to say the person that I would love to sit down with is me. Me.
Oh my goodness. I felt that. The real
Me.
you.
The real me.
Majella.
I
I'm not
want
foolish about that at all. It's just you're
just want,
creating
yeah,
you.
I have to. It's, as I'm saying it, I can feel the goosebumps coming up through me. Um, I have to really, truthfully, Pauline, get to know me and believe in who I am, in everything, of all of my wounds and all of my joys and all of my life's experiences, as to where this is going to bring me and and how it's going to evolve. And I am so looking forward. It's happening now. And I'm
Where,
so looking
where
forward
do
to it.
you feel you're going on your mission now? Where do you feel it's bringing you?
It's I feel, Pauline, that I'm being brought into something that is evolving other women. That is, it's like as if that I hope that it's bringing me in to help to empower other women, because I know of the darkness of what women in this country have gone through for many, many years. And I want that cycle to be broken. And I want people, especially women, to believe that they are wonderful beings, and that I can see myself. It's how I saw it the other day, Pauline. I was writing and I saw myself sitting on a big rock and about 40 children around me. And I thought, that's the thing that I want to do, because I know the importance of feeding a child with love and feeding a child truth and feeding a child encouragement, believing them, seeing them, understanding them. It starts there.
What would you tell a child if they were sitting in front of you right now?
Pauline, I just pick them up and hold them. Tell them that nobody has the right to hurt.
Yeah.
Because they are our future.
Yes. I know.
Very innocent beings, and I was an innocent being.
Yes, you were. And you were a beautiful child too that experienced that abandonment. I mean, you are so qualified, Majella. You're beyond qualified to help people. And you know what? No doubt you've done the inner child work, the healing on your own inner child on your journey as allowing you to do this.
Yes.
So important because the inner child, the part of us that gets frozen in time from the pain, the hurt, something, it's like a little piece gets left behind at every stage where we've been hurt, abused, abandoned, misunderstood, criticized, and so on and so on. But you are evidence. And I wish you had a tissue there beside you. You are evidence, Majella, of what is possible. I just want to read this quote. And it's by a wonderful lady called Dr. Edith Eger. She's still living. She's a psychotherapist. She's a survivor of the Holocaust. She's written a couple of books, one of which is called The Choice. And this is one of her quotes. She said, "Our painful experiences aren't a liability, they're a gift. They give us perspective and meaning and opportunity to find our unique purpose and our strength." Would you agree?
Yes, definitely, Pauline. Definitely, definitely.
Have you been able to look back, Majella, and see it as a gift? And if so, what has been the biggest gift?
The biggest gift, Pauline, is that I'm still here.
Yeah.
That's the biggest gift. And that I have come through it, and that I'm still here. And I'm surrounded by a wonderful tribe. I have wonderful friends, Pauline.
I've seen the show of support for you on those social media posts. Your friends absolutely hold you in very high regard, and rightly so.
Yeah, and
It's fair to say that you can be somebody else's Sister Claire, as Sister Claire was for you.
yes.
Stella, you are that for somebody else. It's amazing. It's about passing the baton, isn't it? You know,
Mhm.
learning, unlearning, relearning, and we're
Yes.
all evolving. We're all growing, and it's a choice that we have to make because change is inevitable, but
Oh, yeah.
personal growth is a choice. And as Dr. Edith Eger says, like the choice is, are we willing to look at something that happened to us with the idea that, you know, there's a gift within this, and then apply it to how we can contribute to society.
That's it. That's it. It's
So
so
I
important.
know that you're going to do amazing work. I have no doubt about it. I want to ask you though, what advice would you give to somebody else who is perhaps living with the secret, living in some kind of shame? What would you say to them?
Reveal. Open up. When you reveal your truth, you become real.
I know.
There is support out there. Reach out. It's, Pauline, nobody has to live in secret anymore.
Oh my goodness, it's so, you know, prehistoric almost. It's back to the dinosaurs. And you know what? Like there's definitely a rising happening, and is definitely a rising amongst women in particular. We love our men, let's face it. I mean, I'm the mother of a boy, I have a stepson, my husband, I have 4 brothers. We love our men. And I have to say, I've been blessed even lately to have conversations with a couple of men who are just so pro women and the equality side of things and the inclusiveness. And, you know, it's just so great to see their support towards women. I mean, all we want is to live in an equal world. That is what it should be.
Absolutely.
And we need one another. You know, it's not like a them or us, because all that does is reverse the problem. If the women think we need to be the almighty, because that's not solving anything. But we need to be able to live equally and respect one another and see the oneness in one another, and that we all need each other, that we're really interdependent. Would you like to add anything to that?
Pauline, no, I don't think I do. I've listened quite a lot, Pauline, to what you're saying, and I'm very much, I thoroughly admire you, Pauline. I admire you for what you're doing for women and for others.
Thank you.
Uh, I am so happy that we have connected, and I know that you will be one of my teachers.
Well, I very much look forward to that, but I'll tell you one thing. If I'm your teacher, you're going to be mine too, because that's how it works.
Yeah.
A teacher that's worth her salt is going to learn from her students. And, I'm a student too, by the way. I'm always learning, and I always do everything I can to approach things as that, empty mind to a large degree, because what can I learn? Because it's so important to be always learning. And as we grow and we look back over things, and it's like picking up a book perhaps for the second or third time and reading something that we didn't see before. It's not because what the content has changed, it's that we've changed.
Mhm.
So I just want to say a huge thank you again for taking the time out to be on this show with me and share with the listeners the beautiful side of who you are, your nature, your strength, your power, and you really are a role model for so many, Majella. And nothing is wasted. As Steve Jobs says, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking back. And being willing to see the gift and show how it's going to help you on your mission to help children, to help empower women. Can you see? The world is ready for you, and you're now ready for the world. And I'm very excited for you. So I want to thank the listeners as well. I hope you've really enjoyed this episode as much as I have. I know it was testing me. I had several gulps in my throat there and lots of tears, and I felt the emotion big time. But as Majella says, don't hold on to any of these secrets. They need to be outed big time. And, relieve yourself of that unnecessary pressure and get the help. It's there. And there's no need for shame, because I don't think any of us can can be in this glass house. What's the expression? We should, people in glass houses should not throw stones for certain. I don't think any of us are free of some level of regret or shame or a mistake or a bad choice that we've made. I certainly have made my own share. I'm not a pious person at all. I am here full of misdemeanors, but it's on the path to learning and sharing that we grow, and we can put a smile on our face, and we can really look at ourselves in the eye and say, you know what, I'm doing okay. And it's okay not to be okay the odd day. Isn't that it, Majella?
Absolutely, Pauline. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we'll finish on a namaste. Are you familiar with this greeting? I'm sure you've been to India.
Yeah.
Of course, I say it at the end of all my yoga classes, but I think it's very appropriate because of the nature of the week in it, International Women's Day tomorrow. Namaste, simply meaning I honor the light in you that is the same in me. We are one. And that is what I want as part of my own mission, is to help people, rise up, play their part in the world, use their gifts and talents, and let's make this world a better place and become, interdependent, but at that oneness and respect for all regardless. Listen, I love you millions. Can't wait to spend more time with you, and have a fantastic day. Thanks, Majella. You've been amazing.
Pauline, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this show so that you will be notified when the next episode is released. And remember, keep believing. You're amazing and you have so much to give. Now is your time.